You begin by noticing the light. It is gentle, amber, and familiar, like a lamp left on in the next room. That light is Earth, resting behind you, warm and patient, not calling you back, just watching. You float at the edge of something vast, and for once, vast does not mean loud. You are not standing. You are not falling. You are floating. Your body feels supported, as if invisible water holds you exactly where you need to be. You breathe in slowly. The breath arrives without effort. You breathe out, and nothing rushes away. Ahead of you stretches a dark, indigo ocean. Not water, not quite space either, but something calmer than both. It hums faintly, a distant sound like a ship far beyond the horizon, minding its own business. You notice shapes drifting across this ocean. They are slow. They are unhurried. They do not spin for drama or glow for attention. Asteroids. Here, they do not feel like threats. They feel like islands. Each one drifts alone, separated by long silences, carried by currents older than memory. Some are rounded, some uneven, all of them patient. They are not chasing you. They are not avoiding you. They simply exist, which feels strangely reassuring. You float closer, not by moving, but by allowing. This ocean responds best to that. Asteroid mining, the phrase itself, sounds heavy when spoken too quickly. Mining. Sharp tools. Deep cuts. Dust and strain. But here, in this quiet ocean, the idea changes shape. Mining does not feel like digging. It feels like listening. You imagine approaching an island without anchors or engines screaming. Just a gentle arrival, like drifting toward shore in the early morning. No crowds. No urgency. Just presence. Science often arrives wrapped in urgency, but not tonight. Tonight, science takes its shoes off at the door. It speaks softly. It explains that these islands are remnants, leftovers from a time before planets learned their names. You let that idea settle. These asteroids formed when the solar system was still deciding what it wanted to be. Before oceans knew how to wave. Before mountains practiced standing still. They have been drifting ever since, unchanged, unbothered, and impressively unconcerned with your schedule. Frankly, they have excellent boundaries. You smile a little at that. Your breath continues, slow and even. In. Out. The ocean does not judge the breath. It matches it. As you float, you notice how different this place feels from Earth. There is no weight pulling at your bones. No ground asking you to hurry up and choose a direction. Here, direction is optional. The science explains, gently, that gravity loosens its grip out here. Things rest more lightly. Even effort feels lighter. That is why these islands remain untouched. Not because they are unreachable, but because they require patience instead of force. They ask for planning instead of pushing. You realize something quietly important. Asteroid mining is not about taking from space. It is about meeting space where it already is. You imagine tools designed not to strike, but to hold. Machines that move slowly, deliberately, like hands reaching into water without making ripples. No sparks. No explosions. Just contact. There is a subtle comfort in that vision. You are not here to conquer an ocean. You are here to learn its currents. The ocean seems to notice your attention. One island, slightly brighter than the others, drifts closer. Not fast. Never fast. Just enough that its surface becomes clearer. You see textures, soft shadows, ancient scars from collisions long forgotten. This island has been traveling for billions of quiet years, and it still makes time for you. That feels generous. You breathe again, deeper now, as if the air itself has slowed down. In this stillness, you understand why humans look to these drifting islands. Not out of desperation, but out of respect. They hold materials shaped before Earth learned how to recycle. They carry water locked in cold darkness. They remember how everything began. But the science does not overwhelm you with details. It trusts you to feel the idea instead. Resources in space are not buried. They float. That simple difference changes everything. On Earth, you dig down. Here, you drift alongside. The ocean metaphor returns, steady and familiar. You would not drain an ocean to understand it. You would not attack a tide. You would float, measure, listen. You notice a gentle humor in that thought. Humanity, known for rushing, must finally slow down to succeed. Space insists on it. Space has always been very good at saying no. The island continues its quiet approach. You do not reach out yet. You let it come to you. Your body feels warm, as if wrapped in a thin blanket of starlight. There is no fear here. No alarms. Only curiosity, soft and round at the edges. Asteroid mining begins not with machines, but with moments like this. Moments of stillness. Moments where you choose patience over urgency. Moments where you realize the universe does not need to be rushed to be understood. You float. You breathe. You listen. Behind you, Earth remains a soft glow, proud but not possessive. Ahead of you, the ocean opens wider, full of islands waiting without expectation. The science will deepen later. The machines will arrive later. For now, this first step is simply learning how to float. The island drifts close enough that you could almost touch it, though you do not. Not yet. You inhale slowly, like drawing in sea air. The breath fills you, carries you forward. And as the ocean gently pulls you along, you sense that each drifting island holds a story older than time itself, waiting to be told in whispers rather than waves. You are already drifting when you realize it. There is no moment of departure, no clear line crossed. One breath leads into the next, and suddenly the island is nearer, close enough to feel real. Not heavy. Not imposing. Just present. You float beside it, and the first thing you notice is how unhurried it feels. This island has nowhere to be. It has already arrived. Your breath settles into a slow rhythm. In. Out. The ocean of space seems to follow along, matching you without effort. Asteroids are often called rocks, but that word feels too small here. Rocks belong to places where gravity presses them down, where time erodes them into sand. This island has escaped all that. It has been drifting freely, untouched, for longer than any shoreline you have ever known. You let that idea rest. Long before Earth learned how to glow blue and green, this island already existed. Before rain understood how to fall. Before forests practiced growing upward. This island was already traveling, carrying the quiet ingredients of beginnings. The science explains this softly, without numbers, without diagrams. Asteroids form from the same ancient cloud that shaped planets, but they never became one. They remained small, separate, preserved. They are leftovers, yes, but leftovers in the most generous sense. Like a saved note. Like a photograph tucked gently into a book. You drift closer and notice the surface. It is uneven, textured, marked by small craters that look less like wounds and more like memories. Each mark tells a story of a slow meeting, a gentle collision, nothing sudden enough to break the calm. You smile faintly. Even chaos, out here, takes its time. Your body feels warm, buoyed by invisible support. There is no sense of falling, only of being held. The ocean does not ask anything from you. It allows. As you float, you begin to understand why scientists pay such careful attention to these islands. They are not valuable because they are rare. They are valuable because they are unchanged. On Earth, everything cycles. Heat. Pressure. Movement. Time reshapes everything it touches. But here, drifting in the quiet ocean, time behaves differently. It slows. It preserves. It watches rather than interferes. Asteroids carry materials exactly as they were when the solar system was young and undecided. They are not refined. They are not processed. They simply are. You imagine holding a grain from this island in your hand. It would not sparkle dramatically. It would not hum with power. It would feel ordinary, and that is what makes it extraordinary. This is science at its most patient. Instead of asking what something can become, it asks what it has always been. You breathe in slowly, feeling the air expand gently in your chest. The breath feels deeper now, steadier, like it has learned something important and decided to stay. The ocean hums faintly around you. A distant vibration, like a ship far away, moving carefully through fog. No urgency. No alarms. You realize that asteroid mining begins with this understanding of age. You do not rush something that has waited billions of years. You do not interrupt a story halfway through its sentence. You listen first. This island has orbited the sun countless times, always at a respectful distance, never demanding attention. It has watched planets form and rearrange themselves. It has seen collisions that reshaped worlds. And still, it drifts. That kind of patience changes you. Your thoughts slow to match it. Your mind stops jumping ahead. You are here, beside this island, in this moment, and that feels sufficient. The science gently reminds you that these islands are time capsules. They hold clues about how planets gather themselves, how water finds its way into places it can stay. They carry answers, but they do not hand them over easily. They require presence. You feel a small flicker of amusement at that. Humanity, known for its impatience, must learn stillness to learn anything at all. The universe has an elegant sense of humor. You float a little closer. The island rotates slowly beneath you, not spinning, just turning enough to show another face. Each side looks different, but none of them rush to impress. This is not a performance. It is simply existence. Your breath deepens, steady as waves that never quite reach shore. In. Out. You notice how the ocean of space feels less empty now. It is full of history, full of quiet motion, full of things waiting without expectation. Asteroids matter not because they are useful, but because they are honest. They have not been melted, compressed, or rearranged by planetary ambition. They remain as they were, and that consistency is rare. You sense a gentle reassurance in that. Some things do not need to change to be meaningful. The island drifts alongside you, close enough that its presence feels companionable. Not intrusive. Just there. You imagine many such islands scattered across this ocean, each one carrying a slightly different memory of the same beginning. Together, they form a library without walls, floating patiently, waiting for visitors who know how to move slowly. Asteroid mining, you realize, is less about extraction and more about translation. Learning how to read what time has written without erasing it in the process. You breathe again, longer this time. Your body feels heavy in the most comforting way, like settling into a warm chair after a long day. Your thoughts soften. The science no longer feels like information. It feels like understanding. The island continues its gentle rotation, and you drift with it, neither leading nor following. Just sharing the same quiet current. As you float, a subtle question forms, not loudly, not urgently, just enough to be noticed. If these islands have carried the past so carefully, what else might they be holding, waiting lightly in the ocean, just beyond where Earth's pull can reach? Your breath deepens, steady as waves, as the island turns slowly beneath you, and the quiet ocean carries you onward. You notice the distance before you notice the change. Earth is still there, still glowing softly, but it no longer tugs at you with the same insistence. Its pull feels gentler now, like a hand loosening its grip, trusting you to float on your own. You breathe in. The breath feels lighter. Not shorter. Just freer. This is where the ocean begins to reveal one of its quiet rules. Not everything belongs close to shore. On Earth, gravity gathers things inward. It presses materials together, pulls them down, keeps them close and busy. Mountains rise because they must. Rivers fall because they are told to. Everything is always responding. Here, in this wide ocean of space, the rules soften. You float beside the island and feel how little effort it takes to remain near it. No clinging. No pushing. Just balance. The science arrives slowly, like a tide that takes its time reaching your ankles. Gravity weakens with distance, not suddenly, but politely. It does not snap. It fades. And in that fading, something remarkable happens. Resources no longer sink. They linger. Water does not rush downward. Metals do not bury themselves beneath layers of weight. Everything rests closer to the surface, waiting, uncompressed, unhurried. You let that idea drift through you. On Earth, mining means going deeper. Downward. Through resistance. Against pressure. But here, in the ocean between worlds, mining means meeting what already floats. You imagine walking along a quiet shoreline, early in the morning. The tide has brought small treasures to your feet. You do not dig for them. You notice them. Asteroid mining feels like that. Not an act of force, but of attention. You smile gently at the thought. Humanity, famous for digging holes, must learn to look around instead. The universe seems amused by this adjustment. Your body feels suspended, perfectly supported. There is no sense of strain in your muscles, no urgency in your joints. Even your thoughts move more slowly, like they have learned a better pace. The island drifts nearby, its surface catching faint light. You see how loosely everything clings together. Not fragile. Just relaxed. The science explains, quietly, that asteroids are not tightly packed worlds. They are collections, gentle gatherings of material held together just enough to stay connected. They are not crushed by their own weight. They are allowed to breathe. That changes how you approach them. You would not strike something that floats. You would not force something that waits. You would reach carefully. You would match its motion. You would let the ocean do some of the work for you. Your breath slows further, sinking with an unseen rhythm. In. Out. You feel a sense of relief you did not know you were carrying. Effort, it seems, is optional here. The ocean does not reward strength. It rewards patience. Earth keeps its treasures close because it must. Its gravity is strong, its history busy, its surface crowded with layers of time. Everything presses down on everything else. But space lets go. It releases what Earth cannot hold lightly. Water drifts away. Metals wander. Ancient material slips free and settles into long orbits, like leaves carried gently downstream. You begin to understand why the ocean holds what Earth lets go. Not out of neglect. Out of balance. This is not loss. It is redistribution. The island beside you feels like proof of that. It carries elements that once belonged everywhere and nowhere. It holds them without ownership, without pressure. Mining, here, is not an act of removal. It is an act of cooperation. You imagine tools that do not dig, but gather. Devices that cradle instead of cut. Technology that listens for motion before acting. The science feels calmer framed this way. No drills screaming. No dust clouds erupting. Just hands, mechanical or human, learning how to move slowly in a weightless sea. You feel reassured by this vision. Progress does not have to be loud to be real. Your body sinks deeper into its own stillness. The warmth around you feels steady, like a blanket that has been there the whole time. The island rotates gently, revealing pockets of shadow and light. You sense where materials might rest just beneath the surface, not hidden, just waiting. This ocean makes waiting easy. You think about how different this feels from Earth's urgency. Deadlines. Pressure. Extraction measured by speed. Here, success is measured by harmony. By how little disturbance you cause as you pass through. You exhale slowly, releasing weight you did not realize you were holding. The ocean responds by holding you more securely. Asteroid mining, in this light, becomes a lesson rather than a task. A reminder that environments shape behavior. That gentler places ask for gentler actions. The universe does not forbid ambition. It reshapes it. You float slightly farther from Earth now, not because you push away, but because the current carries you. The shoreline fades into memory, still warm, still present, but no longer central. Ahead, the ocean stretches wide, dotted with drifting islands, each one holding what Earth could not keep close. A quiet curiosity rises within you. If resources can rest so lightly here, waiting without pressure, how might this change the way journeys unfold, the way machines move, the way humans learn to travel farther without strain? The question does not demand an answer. It simply floats beside you. You breathe in, slow and full. You breathe out, lighter still. And as you drift farther from shore, the ocean opens wider, ready to show you how gentle motion can carry even the longest journeys forward. You sense the change before you see it. The ocean remains calm, the islands still drifting, but something new moves within the quiet. Not fast. Not loud. Just present. You breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, shapes begin to emerge beside the island. Small. Intentional. Unhurried. Machines. They do not arrive with flashing lights or dramatic entrances. They drift in like curious sea creatures, cautious and attentive, as if they know this ocean deserves respect. You float nearby and watch them move. Each machine adjusts itself gently, responding to tiny shifts in motion. Nothing jerks. Nothing rushes. They seem to understand that here, force is unnecessary. Your breath settles deeper into your chest. In. Out. The science introduces itself softly. These machines are built to observe before they act. They map surfaces patiently, tracing contours the way fingers follow familiar lines in the dark. They learn the island's movement instead of trying to stop it. That feels important. On Earth, machines often overpower their surroundings. They flatten, drill, compress, and dominate. Here, those habits would fail. So the machines learn to drift. You notice how they match the island's slow rotation, adjusting their position without resistance. They do not fight momentum. They share it. The ocean approves. You feel a quiet reassurance spread through you. Technology does not feel cold here. It feels thoughtful. The machines resemble calm creatures of the deep, creatures that have evolved not to rush, but to wait. They anchor lightly when needed, touch briefly, and release easily. You smile faintly at the thought. Even machines, it seems, must learn patience. The science explains that these explorers are designed for delicacy. They cannot rely on weight or pressure. Instead, they use balance, timing, and restraint. That changes everything. You would not hammer a floating island. You would not push against something that barely holds itself together. You would move with it. The machines understand this. They test surfaces gently, measuring response rather than resistance. They observe how particles shift, how shadows move, how light reflects differently across textures. Information arrives slowly, but accurately. You breathe again, feeling the rhythm settle further into your body. The ocean hums faintly, approving this quiet cooperation. You realize that these machines are not tools in the usual sense. They are listeners. They ask questions through motion rather than words. The island responds by continuing to drift, unchanged, unalarmed. There is a gentle humor in this partnership. Humanity builds machines to be strong, and then sends them to a place where strength must learn to soften. The universe has a way of refining intentions. You feel oddly comforted by that. The machines do not work alone. They communicate softly with one another, sharing observations, adjusting plans. Nothing is centralized. Nothing demands control. This ocean favors collaboration. Your body feels warm, supported, as if you were floating on a perfectly still tide. There is no sense of danger here, only careful attention. The science deepens without becoming heavy. Asteroid surfaces are unpredictable. Some are solid. Some are loose. Some shift under the lightest touch. That is why these machines move slowly. Why they pause so often. Why patience becomes their most valuable feature. You imagine them waiting, hovering just above the surface, taking time to understand before reaching out again. This waiting does not feel inefficient. It feels wise. You exhale slowly, releasing any lingering tension. Here, time is not money. Time is alignment. The machines adjust their orientation, matching the island's rotation perfectly now. They are no longer visitors. They are participants. You sense trust forming. Not trust in the machines alone, but trust in the process. Trust that slow systems can accomplish meaningful work without disruption. The ocean seems to expand slightly, as if making room for this new kind of motion. You reflect on how different this feels from urgency-driven progress. No deadlines hover here. No pressure builds. The machines act when conditions are right, and wait when they are not. This flexibility feels calming, almost human. Almost. You smile gently at that thought. Your breath continues its steady rhythm. In. Out. The island remains intact, undisturbed, as the machines explore its surface. Nothing is taken yet. Nothing is forced. This is preparation, not extraction. You feel reassured knowing that the first steps toward action are also steps toward understanding. That technology, when guided by patience, can learn to coexist rather than consume. The ocean carries all of you together now. You. the island. The machines. No one leads. No one follows. You float slightly closer, watching as one machine extends a delicate arm, pauses, then retracts it again. Not yet. Not ready. That restraint feels like a promise. Asteroid mining, you realize, does not begin with harvesting. It begins with trust. Trust that slow contact will teach more than force ever could. Your body settles deeper into stillness. The warmth around you feels steady, like being held by something that understands quiet. The machines continue their gentle dance, learning the island's rhythm, learning the ocean's rules. And as you drift alongside them, carried by the same unseen current, you sense the tide turning almost imperceptibly. Observation is becoming intention. Listening is becoming readiness. You take a slow breath in, like a rising swell. And as you float beside these gentle machines, you feel the ocean preparing you for the next lesson, where touch itself must learn how to take almost nothing at all. You feel it before anyone explains it. A subtle shift. Not in the ocean. In you. The machines drift nearby, the island turns slowly beneath them, and suddenly the idea of touch feels important. Not dramatic. Just precise. You breathe in, and the breath feels careful, as if it knows it matters now. You breathe out, and the ocean seems to listen. This is the moment where curiosity becomes responsibility. Until now, everything has been observation. Floating. Listening. Learning the rhythm of drifting islands and patient machines. Now comes the question of contact. How do you touch something ancient without disturbing it? How do you take without tearing the fabric of stillness? The ocean does not answer quickly. It never does. On Earth, touch is often automatic. Hands reach. Tools press. Effort is rewarded by force. Here, touch must be earned. You float closer to the island and notice how little pressure exists at all. No weight pulls you downward. No surface pushes back. Everything is balanced on the edge of motion. The science enters gently, like a careful hand on your shoulder. Asteroids are fragile in their own way. Not weak, but loosely held together. Their materials rest near the surface, uncompressed, as if they are only visiting one another. That means force behaves differently here. Push too hard, and the island responds by letting go. Touch too roughly, and everything drifts away. So mining, in this ocean, must become something else entirely. Harvesting. You like that word better? Harvesting implies patience. Timing. Respect for cycles. You imagine gathering something that already wants to be gathered. Loose grains. Floating fragments. Materials that respond best to gentle invitation. The machines seem to understand this instinctively. They approach slowly, pause often, and retreat without frustration. Their movements resemble breathing more than working. In. Out. You smile faintly at the thought that even machines are learning how to breathe. The science explains that minimal force is not a limitation here. It is an advantage. Small motions create big results when nothing weighs very much. This feels like a quiet secret. On Earth, progress often means more power. Bigger machines. Stronger impacts. In space, progress means restraint. You feel reassured by that. It suggests a future shaped by care rather than urgency. The island continues to rotate gently, unaware of plans, unconcerned with intention. It does not need permission to exist. It simply does. You float alongside it, feeling warmth spread through your body, a sense of calm settling deeper now. This chapter of the journey feels softer, more intimate. Touch, you realize, is an agreement. The machines extend tools designed not to grab, but to guide. They use nets that do not tighten, surfaces that attract rather than scrape. Nothing pierces. Nothing tears. The ocean remains undisturbed. You notice how long they wait between actions. Moments stretch. Silence holds. There is no rush to fill the quiet. You feel a gentle humor rise again. Humanity invents extraordinary technology, then must teach it the hardest skill of all. Restraint. You breathe slowly, letting the idea settle. Asteroid mining, framed this way, feels less like taking resources and more like participating in a slow exchange. Materials move from island to machine not because they are forced, but because the conditions allow it. That distinction matters. You sense responsibility settling into place, not heavy, but present. Like a warm hand resting lightly on your back. The science reassures you without lecturing. Gentle contact reduces risk. It protects the island. It protects the machines. It protects the future paths that depend on both. But numbers are unnecessary here. You feel the truth of it in the calm itself. You float a little closer, watching as a machine carefully gathers a small fragment drifting just above the surface. It does not pull. It waits until the fragment aligns, then receives it. Nothing else moves. The ocean approves. Your breath deepens, steady and unbroken. You notice how this approach reshapes the idea of success. Success is not measured by speed or volume. It is measured by how unchanged everything remains afterward. Leave no disturbance. Take only what comes easily. That principle feels ancient, older than technology, older than ambition. It feels right. The island continues its slow turn, unaffected by the gentle harvesting. No scars appear. No dust clouds rise. You feel comforted knowing that restraint does not slow progress here. It enables it. The machines drift back slightly, pausing again, as if checking in with the ocean before continuing. This pause feels intentional, almost respectful. You realize something quietly profound. Asteroid mining is not about conquering space. It is about learning how to belong within it. Belonging requires limits. Boundaries. The willingness to leave most things exactly as they are. You breathe in slowly, feeling warmth spread through your chest. You breathe out, feeling tension dissolve. The ocean carries you, the island, and the machines together in a shared stillness. No hierarchy. No dominance. Just coexistence. You reflect on how this lesson extends beyond space. How touch, everywhere, changes depending on awareness. How gentleness can be a form of strength. The science remains present but unobtrusive, like a quiet companion walking beside you rather than leading the way. Harvesting continues slowly, carefully, almost invisibly. Each action blends into the rhythm of drifting. You do not feel excitement. You feel calm satisfaction. This feels sustainable. This feels thoughtful. Your body relaxes further, sinking into a deep sense of safety. The warmth around you feels steady, constant. You realize that slowness here is not a delay. It is a design choice. The ocean prefers it this way. As the machines retreat again, holding what they have gathered without strain, you sense the chapter closing gently. Responsibility has been acknowledged. Restraint has been learned. You pause, breathe, and feel the water hold you without effort. And as you float onward, carried by a quiet current beneath everything, you sense that something even more essential waits ahead, flowing softly through all of this, unseen but vital, like a hidden stream in the deep. You feel the current before you see its source. It is not a pull, not a push, just a gentle suggestion beneath everything else. Like knowing which way a river flows even with your eyes closed. You breathe in slowly. The breath feels cooler now, cleaner, as if it has traveled a long distance to reach you. You breathe out, and the ocean responds by holding you exactly where you are. This is where water enters the story, quietly, without announcement. Not waves. Not rain. Just presence. You float beside the island and sense it differently now. Not just as stone or memory, but as something that holds softness inside hardness. Something patient, waiting. The science approaches carefully, knowing better than to interrupt the calm. Some asteroids carry water, not flowing, not shimmering, but resting. Frozen. Bound. Hidden in shadows that never feel warmth. You let that settle. Water, the most familiar companion of life, drifting silently through space, locked away in ancient islands. Not rushing. Not evaporating. Just waiting. Your breath deepens, as if your body recognizes something essential. On Earth, water is everywhere and never enough. It moves constantly, falling, rising, circulating, never allowed to be still for long. Here, it rests. The ocean of space cradles it gently, preserving it without pressure. You imagine this water as a quiet undercurrent, flowing through the entire idea of asteroid mining without ever demanding attention. It does not sparkle. It does not announce importance. It simply matters. The science explains, softly, that water changes everything without changing itself. It becomes air to breathe. It becomes movement. It becomes possibility. But you are not given numbers. You do not need them. You feel the truth of it in your chest. Your body knows water. It recognizes it immediately, even here, even frozen and distant. You float closer to the island and imagine the water resting inside it, tucked into tiny spaces, protected from sunlight, untouched by time. It has been here longer than any ocean you have ever known. That thought does not feel overwhelming. It feels comforting. Some things last because they are quiet. The machines drift nearby, aware of this presence without disturbing it. They adjust their behavior even further now, movements becoming softer, pauses stretching longer. Water demands respect without asking for it. You smile gently at the idea that even in space, water sets the tone. The science continues its calm explanation. Water in space is not just substance. It is structure. It is rhythm. It allows journeys to continue without returning to shore. It turns distant islands into gentle waypoints, places where motion can pause and resume. You imagine the ocean dotted with such points, each one carrying a quiet reserve, each one feeding the next stretch of drifting. The current beneath everything grows clearer. This is not about taking water away from its resting place. It is about letting it flow where it is needed, slowly, intentionally. You breathe in again. The breath feels fuller now, as if it understands where it comes from. You realize that water connects everything without insisting on being seen. It links islands to machines, machines to journeys, journeys to breath. The ocean feels less abstract now. More intimate. You sense pathways forming, not lines or routes, but gentle continuities, like currents that know where they are going without needing maps. There is a soft humor in this realization. Humanity searches endlessly for direction, and water simply moves. Your body relaxes further, warmth spreading evenly through you. The hum of space feels deeper, steadier. The island rotates slowly, and you imagine the water inside it rotating too, perfectly content to wait another age if necessary. Time does not pressure it. Neither should you. The science reassures you without instruction. Water in these islands is not fragile. It has survived cold, darkness, and distance without complaint. It does not need urgency to remain useful. That lesson feels important. You reflect on how often importance is confused with speed. How rarely stillness is trusted. Here, stillness is the entire point. You exhale slowly, letting go of that old habit of rushing. The machines pause completely now, as if acknowledging the current beneath everything. No harvesting happens in this moment. No movement is required. This pause feels sacred in a quiet way. You feel deeply reassured. Nothing essential is being missed. Nothing important is being delayed. The water will wait. Your breath continues its slow rhythm, steady and unbroken. In. Out. The ocean seems to widen slightly, accommodating this understanding. The islands feel closer together now, not in distance, but in purpose. Water does that. It connects. You imagine future journeys unfolding along these quiet currents, never rushed, never strained. Each island offers continuation, not destination. The science remains present, but it no longer feels like explanation. It feels like recognition. Of course water matters. Of course it flows beneath everything. You float onward, carried gently by this unseen current, feeling lighter and steadier at the same time. Your body feels safe. Your thoughts feel slow. Your breath feels guided rather than controlled. The ocean holds you without effort. As you drift, you sense that these quiet currents do more than sustain motion. They shape how everything ahead will be built, where pauses will exist, where rest will be possible. The water does not rush toward the future. It prepares it. You breathe in once more, slow and full. And as the current continues beneath you, unseen but undeniable, you drift toward the next idea, where these gentle flows begin to shape places of rest between the stars. You feel the idea of rest before you picture its shape. The current beneath you continues, steady and patient, but now it carries something new. A pause. A place where motion softens without stopping. You breathe in slowly, and the breath feels warmer again, as if approaching a sheltered inlet. You breathe out, and the ocean responds by smoothing itself around you. This is where harbors begin. Not ports filled with noise or motion, but quiet structures that exist for one reason only: to let drifting continue without exhaustion. You float forward and imagine them appearing gently between the islands. Not towering. Not imposing. Just present. These are not cities. They do not demand attention. They do not glow brightly or announce importance. They are harbors. The science enters with the same softness you have come to expect. Long journeys require pauses. Not interruptions, but intentional moments of stillness where systems can recover and adjust. On Earth, rest is often treated as a delay. Here, rest is part of the design. You feel reassured by that. The harbors you imagine are built slowly, piece by piece, using what the islands offer willingly. Materials gathered gently. Water shared carefully. Nothing rushed. They float alongside the currents rather than blocking them. You notice how natural this feels in the ocean metaphor. Every sea is places where ships pause, not to stop forever, but to continue safely. These harbors do the same. They provide quiet places where machines can be checked, where trajectories can be adjusted, where motion can slow just enough to remain precise. You breathe again, steady and calm. The science explains that distance changes everything. Far from Earth, returning home is not always the best answer. Sometimes the better choice is to pause where you are. That idea settles into you like warmth. The harbors are designed with restraint in mind. No excess. No clutter. Only what is needed to support continuation. They feel almost shy. You imagine approaching one slowly, guided by gentle signals rather than commands. The structure does not pull you in. It waits for alignment. This waiting feels respectful. The ocean remains quiet around these places, undisturbed by their presence. They do not disrupt the current. They become part of it. You realize something important. Asteroid mining does not just make movement possible. It makes rest possible. Water supports breath. Material supports structure. Structure supports pause. Everything connects. You feel your body respond to this idea instinctively. Your shoulders relax. Your jaw softens. Your breathing deepens. The harbors feel safe. Not because they are strong, but because they are thoughtful. The science reassures you gently. These places are not meant to last forever. They are meant to exist as long as they are needed, then change, then move on. That impermanence does not feel fragile. It feels healthy. You smile faintly at that. Even in space, nothing insists on permanence. The harbors float quietly near the islands, positioned carefully along natural paths of motion. They do not force routes. They recognize them. The ocean appreciates this cooperation. You imagine light inside these harbors. Soft. Warm. Not bright enough to demand wakefulness, just enough to remind travelers they are not alone. The hum here is deeper, steadier, like machinery that knows it is allowed to rest. You breathe in, feeling that hum resonate gently through you. You realize that these harbors are not only for machines. They are for people, too. For human presence that arrives gently, without claiming territory. For moments of quiet observation. For learning how to continue without rushing. The science does not need to convince you of this. It feels obvious now. Long journeys are not sustained by speed. They are sustained by rhythm. Move. Pause. Adjust. Continue. The harbors exist to protect that rhythm. You float past one imagined structure, noticing how it blends into the darkness, almost invisible until you are near. It does not announce itself. It simply offers itself. That feels kind. You feel a gentle humor surface again. Humanity, known for building monuments, must learn how to build places that are almost unnoticeable. The universe seems pleased with this adjustment. Your body feels heavier in the most comforting way, like settling into a chair that fits you perfectly. The warmth around you remains steady. The science explains that these harbors reduce strain on everything that passes through them. Machines last longer. Paths remain flexible. Mistakes become easier to correct. You do not need details. You feel the truth of it in the calm. The ocean continues to carry you forward, but now the distance ahead feels less daunting. Not shorter. Just supported. You sense how these quiet places change the emotional shape of the journey. Without them, space would feel endless and demanding. With them, it feels navigable, patient, kind. You breathe slowly, letting that reassurance settle. The islands drift nearby, still ancient, still unconcerned. They do not mind these harbors resting beside them. They have always shared space generously. You float onward, passing between island and harbor, feeling the current guide you naturally. Nothing pulls. Nothing pushes. The science remains present, but it no longer feels like instruction. It feels like permission. Permission to rest. Permission to pause. Permission to continue later. Your breathing becomes barely noticeable now, smooth and even, like water moving beneath a dock. The harbors glow softly behind you as you drift past, never asking you to stay, only reminding you that rest exists wherever balance is respected. Ahead, the ocean deepens again, wider and quieter, and you sense another lesson waiting. One about time itself, and how patience, more than speed, shapes everything that moves among the stars. You inhale warmth, as if floating near a lantern-lit dock. And as you drift onward, carried by a steady current, the idea of progress begins to slow, preparing you for a deeper understanding of how waiting itself becomes motion. You do not notice time passing at first. It loosens its edges so quietly that it feels less like something moving forward and more like something breathing beside you. You float, and the ocean floats with you, and nothing asks you to hurry. You breathe in slowly. The breath feels long, unbroken, like a thought that does not need to finish itself. You breathe out, and the current continues, patient and precise. This is where patience reveals its shape. Not as waiting in stillness, but as motion so slow it feels invisible. The islands drift around you, each one following a path that curves gently through the ocean. They do not rush toward destinations. They circle. They return. They repeat. You begin to sense the rhythm beneath it all. Movement here is not driven by urgency. It is guided by balance. The science enters like a familiar voice, calm and reassuring. In space, motion settles into patterns. Paths repeat. Cycles form. Nothing needs to be forced once it is aligned. You let that idea rest. On Earth, progress often feels loud. Fast. Measured by how quickly something changes. Here, progress feels quieter. It looks like consistency. Like patience rewarded by accuracy. You float alongside an island and notice how its path never surprises itself. It knows where it will be tomorrow, and the day after, and long after that. Not because it predicts the future, but because it follows the present so faithfully. That feels comforting. Your body relaxes further, as if recognizing a pace it has always wanted. The ocean hums faintly, steady and unchanging, like a sound you stop noticing because it has never left. The science explains that orbits behave like tides. They rise and fall gently. They repeat without complaint. They reward patience with reliability. You do not need diagrams to understand this. You feel it. You imagine machines planning their movements around these rhythms, not fighting them, not correcting them constantly, just trusting them. They wait for alignment. They move when the moment arrives. They pause again. Waiting, you realize, is not inactivity here. Waiting is preparation. You breathe in. The breath feels synchronized now, like it has learned something important and decided to follow along. There is a soft humor in this lesson. Humanity spends so much energy trying to go faster, only to discover that space prefers those who know how to wait. The universe, it seems, enjoys rewarding calm persistence. You smile gently. The islands continue their slow dance, drifting closer, then farther, never colliding, never losing their paths. They trust the ocean completely. You begin to understand how patience becomes progress. Not by rushing toward outcomes, but by reducing mistakes. By conserving energy. By arriving exactly where you intended, rather than somewhere nearby in a hurry. This feels like wisdom rather than strategy. Your thoughts slow further, settling into the same rhythm as the drifting islands. There is no sense of boredom here. Only spaciousness. The science reassures you without insisting. Long timelines do not mean delays. They mean stability. When motion is predictable, systems last longer. When systems last longer, journeys become gentler. You feel reassured by that. The ocean does not feel lonely despite its size. It feels companionable, filled with steady movement and quiet repetition. You notice how the harbors you imagined earlier fit perfectly into this rhythm. They appear at just the right moments, never interrupting the flow, always supporting it. Rest and motion are not opposites here. They are partners. You breathe out slowly, feeling that partnership settle into your chest. The island beside you rotates, showing the same surface you saw before, now familiar, now comforting. Nothing has changed, and yet everything feels deeper. Patience does that. It allows understanding to grow without strain. The science continues its gentle explanation. In space, small adjustments matter more than big pushes. Timing matters more than force. Waiting for the right moment saves more effort than constant correction. You feel a sense of relief at this idea. There is permission here to slow down. To trust process over pressure. Your body responds by sinking deeper into comfort, warmth spreading evenly through you. The ocean seems to widen again, making room for this understanding. You realize that progress here does not announce itself. It accumulates quietly, layer by layer, cycle by cycle. One orbit leads to another. One pause leads to alignment. One gentle correction leads to long-term stability. You breathe in, steady and calm. The breath feels almost automatic now, like it knows the rhythm on its own. The islands drift onward, and you drift with them, feeling no urgency to arrive anywhere else. This is progress without anxiety. Movement without strain. The science no longer feels like information being added. It feels like something being remembered. You reflect on how this patience reshapes ambition. Goals remain, but they soften. They stretch over time instead of compressing it. The ocean approves. It holds everything equally, without preference for speed. You feel deeply reassured. Nothing important is being missed. Nothing essential is falling behind. The journey continues because it is allowed to. As you float onward, the vastness of the ocean no longer feels intimidating. It feels rhythmic, predictable, kind. Your breathing becomes slow and even, like waves that never quite reach shore. The islands continue their endless circling, teaching without speaking. And as patience settles fully into motion, you sense the path ahead opening wider, curving gently into a distance that feels less like a destination and more like a long, welcoming drift. You feel the expanse before you, not as distance, but as space filled with possibility. The ocean stretches endlessly, dotted with islands that drift gently along their invisible paths. You do not measure it. You do not count it. You simply float, carried by the current, aware of its quiet guidance. You breathe in slowly. The air feels lighter now, carrying the hum of distant motion, the faint shimmer of far-off surfaces. You breathe out, and the rhythm of the ocean seems to deepen beneath you. This is the long road. Not a straight line. Not a rigid path. A current that twists, curves, and bends, carrying travelers forward without forcing direction. The science enters like a whispered story. Asteroid mining here is not about immediate gain. It is about preparation. About creating points along the way that support future journeys. Every fragment collected becomes part of a chain, linking islands to one another. You feel the logic in your chest. No numbers are necessary. The pattern is clear. Each island contributes gently, quietly, to the next. The machines drift alongside, moving with a calm precision that mirrors the ocean's rhythm. They gather, pause, adjust, and float onward, never hurried, never strained. You notice a subtle humor in the design. The universe has built a system where everything useful moves slowly and gently, yet reliably. The work is steady, not spectacular. And yet it is enough. Your body responds to this realization. Shoulders relax. Hands float loosely. Breath lengthens, finding its own steady rhythm. The science explains that connecting these islands is like creating a series of waypoints. Not destinations. Just pauses along a longer path. Each one supports what comes after, making the next stretch less daunting, less uncertain. You imagine a distant mission, Mars, or perhaps something beyond. The islands along the way do not compete. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, quietly supporting the journey. The ocean seems to widen even more, making room for this understanding. You feel part of it, rather than apart from it. Patience, you realize, is not just a personal virtue. It is the ocean's law. It shapes how islands drift, how machines move, how journeys unfold. You breathe in, long and full. You breathe out, releasing any remnants of rush you did not notice you were carrying. Progress, you see now, is a series of gentle accumulations. Not dramatic leaps. Not forced steps. A collection of small, intentional movements, each one adding quietly to what comes next. The islands continue their slow rotation. The machines follow, adjusting, measuring, touching lightly, then withdrawing. Every motion honors the rhythm of the ocean. You smile faintly at the thought. Humanity, so often impatient, must learn to drift. To wait. To trust the current. The science reassures you that this is enough. Even without speed, even without force, the road moves forward. You drift slightly closer to one island, feeling the soft pull of proximity. It rotates calmly beneath you, revealing new textures, new possibilities, but no urgency to reveal them all at once. The current carries you both forward. Your body relaxes fully. You notice the warmth of your skin, the steady pulse of your chest, the quiet rhythm of breath matching the slow hum of space. You sense how each pause along the road allows learning. Machines adjust. Materials settle. Knowledge grows. The humor of it strikes you again. The long road is not lonely. It is filled with invisible connections, subtle signals, patient alignments. You simply need to notice them. The science continues softly, like a gentle tide. Mining in this context is not a race. It is a relay. Each collection supports the next. Each moment of attention ripples forward, helping balance the journey that follows. You exhale slowly, feeling tension dissolve. The horizon feels farther, yet less intimidating. Not because it is smaller, but because it is held, carried, supported by the rhythm of motion and patience. You begin to sense how the ocean itself teaches endurance. You do not fight. You do not push. You move steadily, riding the current, allowing drift to become guidance. The islands rotate around you, each one a quiet lesson. They are older than this journey, older than your awareness of it. And yet they offer themselves generously, without demand. Your breath finds a new depth. In. Out. You notice how the harbors imagined earlier fit into the sequence. They are pause points along the long current, letting travelers regain balance, adjust machines, or simply rest. Rest, you realize, is part of progress. It is built into the rhythm. It is not separate from movement. The machines move gently toward the next island. They pause. They wait. They continue. Every action is aligned with patience, guided by the ocean's current. You feel your mind drifting along the same rhythm. Questions arise softly, then settle without urgency. Curiosity replaces worry. Observation replaces force. The science is no longer instruction, it is a companion, whispered beside you. Each island is a step. Each step is small. Yet together they create a path far longer than you first imagined. You float beside one, noticing textures, shadows, and faint glimmers of mineral and water. Not to take. Not yet. Just to see, to sense, to understand. You exhale again, carrying your awareness farther along the current. The long road feels less intimidating. Not because it is shorter. Not because it is easier. Because it is held, supported, and understood. The ocean does this quietly, without asking for recognition. It flows, it drifts, it carries. You feel a deep reassurance. Nothing is lost. Nothing is forced. Everything progresses in time. Your body feels warmth, lightness, and connection simultaneously. You float, but you feel held. You move, but you feel steady. The horizon stretches, wide and calm. You sense new islands beyond sight, waiting to offer support. The current bends gently toward them. You inhale slowly, taking in starlight and stillness. You exhale, letting the rhythm settle fully into your body. And as you drift along the long, quiet road, you realize the journey is less about distance and more about harmony. The ocean carries you onward, deeper into the vast, gentle rhythm of space, ready to show how presence, observation, and slow accumulation lead to motion that feels effortless, continuous, and enduring. You float quietly, noticing the subtle warmth that has grown around you. The ocean stretches in every direction, still calm, still patient. But now it feels more intimate. Not because it has changed, but because you have. You breathe in slowly. The air feels softer, as though it knows your name, and carries it in whispers across the drifting islands. You breathe out, and the rhythm of the current seems to acknowledge you personally. This is where connection deepens. Until now, you were a traveler, observing, learning, participating lightly. Machines moved beside you, islands rotated beneath, and the ocean hummed steadily. Now, everything feels aware of you, in the gentlest possible way. The science enters softly. Human presence in space is not about imposing strength. It is about integration, about moving in harmony with rhythms that are older, larger, and more patient than any human schedule. Participation becomes the goal, not domination. You notice how the machines adjust their paths subtly, as if sensing your comfort. Not because they can feel you, but because they have been designed to respond to motion that is calm and deliberate. Your own rhythm shapes theirs. You smile faintly at the thought. Even here, your presence matters. But not as a force. As a companion. The ocean reinforces this sense. Currents twist slightly, not forcing, just nudging gently, acknowledging that you are part of the system. The islands rotate, continuing their patient journeys, yet somehow aware of the rhythm you carry. Your body relaxes fully. In. Out. You feel warmth spread from your chest through your limbs, a quiet reassurance that belonging does not demand possession. You are here. The ocean knows. That is enough. The science explains that mining in this context is no longer simply about resources. It is about coexistence. Each action, each gentle gathering, is part of a larger, patient dance. The ocean allows you to belong without ownership, to participate without disruption. You notice details more keenly now. Shadows cast across asteroid surfaces. The faint shimmer of minerals catching the light. Subtle hums of the machines adjusting their movements. Everything is rich with presence, yet calm. Even humor finds its way quietly. You think of humanity's attempts to dominate, to claim. Here, in the ocean, that impulse is unnecessary. The universe encourages patience, attentiveness, and respect. Your breath deepens, slow and steady. The harbors imagined earlier appear like soft lanterns in the distance, gentle waypoints along the drifting path. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, quietly supporting those who pass. You realize they reflect your own presence now, integral, but unobtrusive. The machines pause intermittently, as if acknowledging that your rhythm has become part of theirs. Your awareness shapes how the environment responds, yet nothing is forced. Harmony exists without effort. The ocean seems to reach out softly, not with fingers, but with the sensation of motion that cradles you. The islands drift closer, then away, and you feel the ebb and flow of space, not as emptiness, but as companionship. You reflect gently on the science. Orbits, currents, material flows, all are predictable, patient, enduring. Your presence aligns naturally with them, quietly shaping the journey without demanding attention. You are part of something larger. And yet, you do not dominate it. The metaphor feels complete now. The ocean has learned your name. It recognizes your rhythm. It allows you to drift alongside it without expectation, without ownership, without force. You feel a profound reassurance. Belonging is not about control. It is about awareness. It is about aligning with rhythms that already exist, moving with patience and respect. You watch as one island rotates slowly, the machines tracing its contours, careful and deliberate. Your body feels equally attentive. Your mind, once wandering, now rests in steady observation. You inhale. You exhale. The science gently reinforces the lesson: deep space operations, like life in the ocean, succeed through awareness and subtlety. No rush. No urgency. Just steady, informed participation. You notice warmth surrounding your form, faint but persistent, like sunlight through a deep blue current. It feels as if the ocean itself is comforting you. You smile faintly at the realization. Peace exists not outside the ocean, but within your alignment with it. Machines pause, as if to let you acknowledge the stillness. Harbors glow faintly in the distance, soft and patient, waiting for the next traveler. Islands continue their rotations, timeless yet aware. Your breath becomes nearly imperceptible. In. Out. Even humor drifts in subtly. You imagine explaining this to someone on Earth: "The ocean learned my name." They would laugh, confused by the notion, yet here, it feels entirely true. The science fades now into understanding rather than instruction. Everything becomes observation, sensation, and gentle acknowledgement. You realize that belonging in space is less about what you do and more about how you move. You float alongside the drifting islands, the machines, the quiet harbors. Every element interacts without force, without imposition, without urgency. Your presence integrates seamlessly. The ocean has learned your name. And in learning, it welcomes you. You feel warmth, calm, and gentle reassurance spreading throughout your body. The horizon opens wider. You understand that the journey ahead, the work to come, will unfold naturally. Participation, patience, presence, these are the elements that sustain you now. Ownership, urgency, and dominance are unnecessary. The islands continue to drift. The machines follow, adjusting gently. Harbors stand ready, soft lanterns along the way. And you float, integrated, recognized, part of the rhythm. You inhale slowly, drawing in the soft glow of distant stars. You exhale, letting it settle through your chest, your arms, your legs. And as you drift onward, carried by currents that recognize your presence, you sense that the next chapter will teach you stillness in motion, or rest so complete it allows the ocean itself to carry you forward, endlessly patient, endlessly gentle. You settle fully into the rhythm you have learned. The ocean continues beneath you, endless and patient. The islands drift, machines pause and move, harbors glow softly in the distance. And you notice yourself. Your breath. Steady. Even. Your body. Warm. Floating. Your thoughts. Slow. Curious, yet calm. This is the final pause in the long ocean journey. Not an ending, but a rest. A place where you observe everything you have learned and simply allow it to exist in you. The science is quiet now. It has done its work. Orbits, water, gentle harvesting, harbors, patience, all of it has been experienced rather than analyzed. You inhale. Your lungs fill slowly, fully. You exhale, letting the current hold you, no longer needing to act, only to be. You notice the warmth along your arms, the soft hum beneath the islands, the faint glow of distant harbors. Even the smallest details feel vivid now, yet not overwhelming. Everything is part of the rhythm. Everything has a place. The ocean has not changed. You have simply learned to float within it. Machines drift alongside, precise and gentle. Islands continue their slow rotations, indifferent to your presence, yet supportive. Harbors wait patiently for the next visitor. You feel a profound reassurance. The journey does not end. The islands do not stop. The ocean carries everything, endlessly. Your breath becomes a quiet rhythm in harmony with the subtle movements around you. In. Out. A pulse of life and understanding, calm and unhurried. The science no longer feels like instruction or explanation. It has become awareness. A soft understanding of how motion, patience, and restraint create sustainable progress in space. You notice how far you have come, not in distance, but in presence. Each chapter, each island, each harbor has guided you here. You have absorbed lessons of patience, integration, and gentle observation. You float without effort, feeling the quiet power of the ocean beneath you. It carries the islands. It carries the machines. It carries you. The glow of distant harbors reflects faintly across your vision. You sense that even in their absence, they exist as quiet supports, ready to help the next traveler, ready to guide future journeys. Everything persists, even when unobserved. You inhale once more, slow and deliberate. Your chest expands, filling with calm. You exhale, letting the tide carry both breath and thought seamlessly. The warmth in your body spreads to your fingers, your toes, your spine. Your awareness stretches outward, connecting with the drifting islands, the patient machines, the invisible currents. You are part of the ocean now, as much as the ocean is part of you. A faint smile rises on your lips, soft and almost imperceptible. You do not need to speak. You do not need to act. Being here is enough. The ocean hums quietly, a deep, resonant sound that exists beyond hearing, felt more than sensed. It is comforting. It is patient. It is endless. Machines adjust softly around the islands, careful and considerate, yet no urgency guides them. Islands turn slowly, with patience built into every rotation. Harbors glow faintly, their lanterns soft and welcoming, waiting for others who will follow your path. You notice the ocean's invisible current beneath everything, steady and guiding. It has always been here. It will always be here. And now, you move with it. Your breath slows further, almost imperceptible. Your heartbeat matches the rhythm of the ocean, steady, calm, enduring. The science drifts into the background entirely, leaving only awareness. You feel the principles without naming them. You sense motion without measurement. You float, observed and supported, without need for judgment or control. A gentle warmth spreads across your cheeks, your chest, your back. It is a reassurance from the ocean itself, that all is held, all is supported, all moves forward without force. You notice the smallest movements, the subtle rotation of an island, the gentle drift of a machine, the glow of a harbor fading in and out. Each is deliberate, yet effortless. Each teaches without speaking. Each comforts without claiming. You inhale slowly, fully, completely. You exhale, allowing the ocean to carry your awareness, your presence, and your calm further along the quiet current. You feel gratitude, not loud, not urgent, but soft, deep, steady. For the islands, for the harbors, for the machines. For the ocean, for the current, for yourself. The horizon stretches endlessly, and yet you do not feel small. You feel integrated. Held. Aligned with the rhythm of space itself. You float, resting, yet aware. Breathing slowly, steadily. Listening softly. Observing gently. The ocean carries everything forward. The tide continues without end. You rest within it, knowing that this path, this rhythm, this gentle unfolding, persists whether you notice it or not. You exhale fully, and the current beneath you responds, steady and patient. No rush. No pause required. Everything moves as it should. The warmth in your chest spreads across your entire body. Your awareness expands. You feel whole, safe, aligned. And as you float, resting while the tide continues, you sense the universe holding you exactly as it does the islands, the machines, the harbors, without effort, without demand, endlessly patient, endlessly gentle. The ocean hums quietly. You breathe once more. And you rest.